Hey, what is up, everybody? I'm here to give you my WWE NXT review for November 30th, 2016. And this is finally it. I'm finally all caught up with NXT. It took me a month to do so, and I had to sit down. It took me sleepless nights to do it somewhat, so I'm glad I finally did it. It wasn't easy, though. I had, school. I had to focus on school at the same time. I had to, have visit family, and I had to deal with my mic not working on me as well. So it was not easy to finish watching all these NXTs, but I finally did it. So let's talk about this episode of NXT. This is now the most recent one. So this I don't know if I said the date, so I'll just say it again. This episode of NXT aired on November 30th, 2016, but you can tell from the bottom of the from the title on the bottom of the video. Um, and we had Corey Graves and Tom Phillips on commentary on this show. And damn, I just really need to say, Tom Phillips needs to go because what I've been noticing watching all these episodes of NXT is he's just awful on commentary. He's not good at calling moves. He's very bland. He really just doesn't belong there on commentary. Put somebody else in his spot on commentary. I think the only reason what makes him at least bearable is Corey Graves, and that makes the commentary team at least bearable. But Tom Phillips is just awful. I don't know why. I don't know why he's a commentator down there. It's pathetic. But this episode of NXT aired in Ottawa, Canada, so that they were kind of moved, and they had that big feeling again where they had the barricades, and it felt like you were watching like a main roster WWE show, which I like. And it just makes you realize that NXT is really growing, so I think that's awesome. Um, the first match on the show was Asuka versus Nicole Matthews, and this was a squash like normal. Asuka actually at one point was just repeatedly kicking Matthews, and she went to hit like the big kick that she normally hits, and Matthews just falls to the floor. I thought that was kind of funny. But Asuka wins with the Asuka lock. She makes her tap out to it, and Asuka, um, I would say this that Nicole Matthews put up a better fight than I thought she was going to, and I still like what they're doing with Asuka, where she is dominant, nobody can beat her, and all that stuff. And like I said, I do think there is going to be someone. Either I think she is going to lose the title probably in about a month at the next NXT Takeover event. If not there, then the one after that. So I do think she will lose the title eventually. We just don't know. It's just a matter of to who and when. And then Samoa Joe got interviewed, and I actually messed up in my last episode review. So I thought the rematch between Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe was gonna take place on next week on what's 1 in the morning now, on this week's episode of NXT tomorrow nights. However, I messed up. It actually took place this Saturday on December 4th. On actually no, that's on. It took place this Saturday at a live event in Osaka, Japan, on December 3rd, 2016. Um, Fortunately, I already know who wins. It was spoiled ahead of time. They kind of already told me, but I did hear because they were playing advertisements that there is going to be some matches that are going to be playing on the WWE Network, which I'm happy about. So I think that's awesome. I don't know if I'm assuming they are going to film that match because they really hyped it up on this episode of NXT. So I think they are going to play that match on this. I don't know if they're going to play it on on the next episode of NXT or or in a couple of weeks. So we're going to have to wait and see. But I do think, it's I would think that they would just because they had a title change. So I just kind of gave away who won. So yeah, Nakamura wins. But he talks about, how, that he's not surprised that William Regal granted Nakamura his rematch because he wants to put the title back in his hands quickly. And he said that that's not going to happen. He's going to destroy Nakamura just like he did in NXT TakeOver Toronto. And he says that because he's the man, he's the best in the world, he's the man in NXT. And then Ty Dillinger comes up and says that if you're the man of NXT, why don't you get in the ring with the perfect 10 and face me? And Samoa Joe says that he's not good enough to be in the ring with him. What makes you think that he can? Because you failed in front of your home country the last time you were in a match. And Ty Dillinger says, I could give you 10 reasons, but I'm only going to give you one. And then he slaps him in the face. And then Samoa Joe gets pissed off and he says, after tonight, Dillinger, you ain't walking out of here. So I thought this was really good stuff. And then next match was No Way Jose versus Eric Young with Sawyer Fulton, Alexander Wolf, and Nikki Cross ringside. This was actually a solid match here. No Way Jose was dominating the match, but the numbers game caught up to him. And behind the referee's back, Sawyer Fulton tries to interfere, but No Way Jose is able to fight him off. And Eric Young hits a neck breaker against the ropes, and he really works over the neck of No Way Jose, really dominates him. And then No Way Jose starts to make his comeback. He goes for his knuckleball, but then Alexander Wolf gets on the apron, and No Way Jose takes him down, and No Way Jose has him beat with a knuckleball, but Nikki Cross is distracting the referee, so the referee can't make the count. And then Eric Young ends up winning with the wheelbarrow neck breaker. So overall, really good. And like I said, I still think Sanity can change the landscape of NXT because they had to do all this interference tonight. And this was kind of like something you wouldn't really see in an NXT match. So I think this is really starting to change the landscape of NXT. And then Asuka gets interviewed and she gets asked that, I noticed that you've had a change of attitude lately. And Asuka says, nothing is different. I am the NXT Women's Champion and I am the best women's wrestler in the world. And she said that nobody can beat her because there was no competition left in the NXT Women's division. I actually thought this was good. I like the way that Asuka's character is going. And obviously, I think she's clearly supposed to be a heel by the way she's talking, the way she's acting. So, I liked it. I think eventually, I think the person that is going to take the title from her is going to be Ember Moon because they've really been building up Ember Moon. If not Ember Moon, then probably Billie Kay. It's going to be one of those two. But I most likely think it's going to be Ember Moon, and then maybe Billie Kay will take it from Ember Moon. Then we had the main event of the show. It was Samoa Joe versus Ty Dillinger. And this match actually went on like a while, actually. It was about maybe 25 minutes. Maybe I'm over-exaggerated. I wouldn't say maybe that long, but it was about 15 minutes. But Ty Dillinger gets interviewed backstage, and he says that he did this because he felt like he let his people down in his home country. And he says that he needs to do this because he's been in the wrestling business a long time. And he says that he needs to prove that he belongs in NXT. And if he can't beat Samoa Joe, then he doesn't belong here. So this match overall was a good main event. Ty Dillinger looked really good in this match. Samoa Joe, though, dominated a lot of the second half of the matchup. Then Ty Dillinger started to make a comeback. He hits a super kick. Samoa Joe kicks out. Then eventually Samoa Joe hits the Yoganagi coming out of the corner. The powerbomb tries to pin him. Ty Dillinger kicks out, turns it into the Boston Crab, then the crossface, and then the Korkia clutch, and Ty Dillinger ends up passing out. And Samoa Joe wins, and afterwards, just like what happened at NXT TakeOver Toronto, Ty Dillinger's all disappointed. So I do eventually think that I'll build it up to when Ty Dillinger's going to finally get that big victory. I think that's the whole storyline here. Which I don't mind that storyline. He's not necessarily having a losing streak, but I think they're trying to build up to that victory. And when he finally gets, he's going to get a huge pop. And obviously, you needed to have Samoa Joe win anyways to build him up to go into his title match against Shinsuke Nakamura. So it made sense. So overall, this was actually a really good episode of NXT. I thought everything really was good on this show. I liked the women's match. I liked the No Way Jose Eric Young match, and I like the main event. So overall, I would give this episode of NXT a perfect 10 out of 10 because there was nothing wrong with it. And make sure you check out my, I always forget to say this at the end. So make sure you check out my channel down below. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to my CM Brothers channel. I make a lot of videos on there. A lot of it's wrestling. And make sure to check out my Own the Talkinator video where I talk about non-wrestling stuff. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.